Some people don't just age normally. Studies on biological aging, researchers consistently find that two people of the same age can have drastically different biological profiles, sometimes separated by more than a decade in biological age clocks, like DNA methylation tests used in longevity research. For example, large-scale studies on epigenetic aging show that lifestyle factors like sleep quality, muscle mass, and metabolic health shift biological age up or down by multiple years. And when you look at the people who consistently rank at the extreme end of healthy aging, whether in blue zones, populations, or modern biohacking communities, the patterns are consistent, not extreme hacks, but repeatable daily systems. One of the most well-known real-world examples is the Blue Zones research, led by Dan Buettner. I think it's Dan Buettner, where populations in places like Okinawa, Italy, consistently show higher rates of centenarians. Despite different cultures, they share similar behavioral patterns, which are natural daily movement, low ultra-processed food, social connection, consistent sleep, low chronic stress exposure. On the modern science side, researchers like Dr. Peter Adia emphasize that aging is not just time passing, but a breakdown in four key systems: metabolic health, cardiovascular health, muscle prevention, preservation, cognitive function. Meanwhile, biohackers like Brian Johnson are taking a more data-driven approach, tracking over 100 biomarkers in attempts to directly reduce biological age metrics. Even though the methods differ, the overlap is clear. The people who age slower are managing the same biological variables every single day. Sleep is one of the strongest predictors of long-term health outcomes. A large 2019 study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that poor sleep patterns were associated with significantly higher risk of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. In simpler terms, chronic sleep disruption doesn't affect energy. It correlates strongly with shorter lifespan and worse health outcomes over time. This is why sleep is heavily prioritized in both clinical longevity medicine and biohacking protocols. Matthew Walker, neuroscientist and author of Why We Sleep, emphasizes that deep sleep is essential for memory consolidation, immune regulation, and metabolic repair. Sleep deprivation studies show even a few nights of restricted sleep can reduce insulin sensitivity and increase inflammatory markers, which connects directly to aging. Because insulin resistance and chronic inflammation are two of the most consistent biological markers associated with accelerated aging, this is why high-performance longevity routines almost always include consistent sleep and wake timing, early morning light exposure, reduced artificial light at night, and temperature regulation, and avoiding late night eating. Now, the body runs on a circadian clock that regulates nearly every biological system: hormone release, metabolism, digestion, body temperature, and cognitive performance. Research from institutions like the National Institutes of Health shows that circadian misalignment, such as eating and sleeping at inconsistent times, is linked to higher risk of obesity, diabetes, and metabolic dysfunction. One key example comes from shift work studies. People who consistently work night shifts show higher rates of metabolic syndrome and cardiovascular disease compared to day workers. This is not just correlation, it reflects disruption of core biological timing systems. That's why many longevity protocols emphasize morning sunlight, consistent meal timing, reducing late night light exposure to protect melatonin production. Even simple interventions like morning light exposure has been shown sleep research to improve sleep onset and quality later that night. Not just about what you do, but when you do it. One of the strongest real-world predictors of healthy aging is skeletal muscle mass. Research in journals such as the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that lower muscle mass in older adults is associated with higher mortality risk and increased frailty. In fact, sarcopenia and age-related muscle loss is now considered one of the major drivers of physical decline in aging populations. This is why clinicians like Dr. Peter Adia emphasize strength as a longevity biomarker, not just body composition. Even in elderly populations, resistance training interventions have been shown to improve insulin sensitivity, increase bone density, improve balance and mobility, and reduce risk of falls, which is one of the leading causes of mortality-related complications in older adults. The mechanism is simple. Muscle acts as a metabolic buffer. It regulates glucose disposal, supports hormone balance, and maintains physical independence. That's why nearly all modern longevity frameworks prioritize resistance training, not just for aesthetics, but for survival and function. So basically, guys, it comes down to this. Aging well usually isn't the result of one breakthrough, the result of what gets repeated every day. And these habits that slow aging are the same ones that make you feel better long before old age ever even shows up, so that you can be prepared to be 70, 80, 90, 100 and beyond.